It's
Okay.
live. I am working in the field of special education. I am professor and working in the field of education department, teaching bachelor's and master degree students, those who will become teacher in future. So in the teacher training
Okay.
department, I am teaching specifically learning disability, autism, education psychology is my domain. Yeah, research.
Ah, that's good to hear. Okay, so while we're waiting for the others to join, let me just welcome everybody to the platform on behalf of GYMHA. So, welcome to you all from across the different time zones. I am Mahmooda, your host for tonight, bringing you GYMHA's fifth Mind Matters talk show, which is an exciting Facebook Live brought to you by GYMHA, designed to captivate and stimulate your mind. Our topic tonight is signs and symptoms of depression in adults and young people. We're going to be joined a little bit later by Dr. Rania Lampou, as well as Noor Ahmed and Dr. Alkan Mahajan. But with me here, we've got Mohammed Zubair from India. I can see Ambassador Noor Ahmed trying to join in again. Mohammed was telling us a little bit about what he does in India, and it's actually great. And thank you for joining our Facebook Live today, Mohammed.
Thank you, Mahmooda. It's for the warm welcome. Uh, Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, assalamu alaikum around the globe. I am Mohammed Zubair, Assistant Professor of Special Education, Learning Disabilities in the Faculty of Education, Jamia Millia Islamia Central University here in New Delhi. So I am working in the field of education where I teach bachelor's and master degree students of special education, those who will become special educators in the school. So I am teaching them, we are training them in the department, and my domain is education psychology, special education, teacher education, and psychosocial issues of individuals, and research, educational research. These are my areas. So over to you,
That's
Mahmouda.
fantastic. What a great resume you've just given us there. Okay, so I'm a TV presenter, but I'm here in the capacity of a GYMHA ambassador and moderator for
Okay,
today's event. And
that's
we're
great.
looking at depression and signs of and symptoms of depression in adults and young people. I can see Ambassador Noor has finally managed to join in. If you can unmute your microphone, Ambassador Noor, then you can join in the conversation as well. And we used to think back in the day that children and teenagers, for example, don't get depressed or cannot get depressed. But I think, as time has moved on, we've come to realize that this isn't the case. I don't know, Muhammad, are you able to tell us um, from your experience what is depression and what are the signs and symptoms of depression?
Yeah, actually, in my opinion, nowadays we all are, facing lots of problems in our life. So depression is the most common, of the affective disorders. It may range from a very mild condition, bordering on normality, to severe depression, and accompanied by hallucinations and delusions. So depression is a common mental disorder that presents with depressed mood, loss of interest or pleasure, feelings of guilt or low self worth, and disturbed sleep or appetite, low energy, and poor concentration. So these problems can become chronic or recurrent and lead to the substantial impairments in an individual's ability to take care of his or her everyday responsibilities. So at its worst, depression can lead to a suicide, a tragic fatality associated with the loss of about you know around 1 million people every year. So depression is the leading cause of disability, and in my opinion, depression can affect individuals of all ages, and the signs and symptoms can vary based on age groups. And it's important to note that everyone will experience all of these symptoms, and the severity can differ from person to person. If you suspect someone is
Mm,
struggling with depression, it's crucial to seek professional help. We need professional help, and lots of signs and symptoms. For example, persistence, sadness, or low mood, and feelings of hopelessness and worthlessness, and loss of interest or pleasure in activities, and fatigue or lack of energy, tiredness, changes in sleep patterns, insomnia or oversleeping, changes in appetite or weight, difficulty concentrating and attention, and it is always difficult to making decisions or remembering things. We forget things on the regular basis. And irritability or restlessness, and physical symptoms like ache, ache, aches and pains and digestive issues and gastric issues, gut disorders, you know and lots of thoughts in brain, negative thoughts in brain, like suicide or other other disorders. So so it
Yeah.
means these are the symptoms. Yeah.
Absolutely. Wow, that was quite detailed. Um, we now joined by Dr. Rania Lampou as well from Greece. Dr. Rania, are you with us? You seem to be frozen.
Hello,
Oh,
Rani.
great, you're not frozen. Welcome. Welcome to the conversation. So, Mohammed was just taking us through the signs and symptoms of depression. I think we've lost Rania there. But while we're still on this conversation, would you say that the signs and symptoms are different between adults and maybe teenagers or children? Or would you say that the signs and symptoms are very similar across the different age groups?
you know it
What
all
do you
depends
think,
upon.
Mohammed?
Yeah, actually, it's important to get help early. If you think your child may depressed, the longer it goes, the more likely it is to disrupt your child's life and turn into a long term problem, because you have to observe the problems of your child at early stages. Early detection and early identification is important. When we early identify and we refer to the professionals, so it is good. For example, in child,
Mm,
signs of depression in children, for example, sadness and or low mood, and irritable or grumpy all the time, and not being interested in things, and feeling tired, and have trouble sleeping, and not if he is not concentrating on his studies or anything else. So interact less with friends, and parents are not spending quality time with the kids, because we have to make a good rapport and connection with our kids. It's a duty, it's a primary duty of parents and the teachers to make a good rapport and connection with your kids. I know. And you have to increase the confidence and motivation of your kids. And you know if you observe the symptoms, you have to refer the kids to the professionals. Family difficult. Why is my child depressed, for example? Because family difficulties he is facing, because the relationship of parents is not good, and or he is facing some bullying in the school, or the physical or emotional or sexual abuse he is facing in the society,
mm,
or a family of his. Another aspect is that a family history of depression or other mental health problems in the family, genetical it may be. So sometimes depression is triggered by a difficult event, such as parents separating,
absolutely.
a, yeah, a bereavement or problems with the school or other children. So often it is caused by a mixture of things with kids. For example, your child may have a tendency to get depression and also have experienced some difficult like events. But when we talk about
Mm,
adolescence, there is lots of pressure. For example, career is important for all. So he has some career issues, he is not able to he is not able to get success in the career. He has some bad relationship with the partner, and he has some financial crunches or financial issues. He has some other aspects, emotional and social aspect, isolation, or any other problem with him, like social isolation with others. So
absolutely.
different, yeah, it means depression affects each person in different ways. So symptoms caused by depression vary from person to person, and inherit traits, age, gender, and cultural background all play a role in how depression may affect us.
Mm. You're right. You're absolutely correct on that. And thank you so much for that detailed response. Thank you, Stephen Ahamba, for chiming in. He says it's wonderful to meet all the panelists, and Stephen's chiming in from
Hello,
Nigeria.
Rania.
So, Dr.
Always,
Rani, I'm throwing it to you now. Um, do you think that young people nowadays are more prone to depression than in the past? Do you think this is a thing?
Warm greetings from Greece. First of all, I would like to congratulate GYMHA for this continuous effort to promote mental health services. Yes, of course, young generation suffers a lot more than the previous year. And I want to say that depression is like a distorting lens through which we view the world. The depression lens filters out rays of hope, blocks our view of possible good outcomes, blurs anything positive, brings a negative into sharp focus, magnifies any kind of threat of problem in our lives. Uh, so there are problems that have to do with negative thinking patterns, and these patterns are usually negative predictions, negative focus, problem magnification. And there are many times when being sad is an integral vital part of life. Um, I think there are many times when a healthy man can and should indeed become extremely depressed. For example, when we lose someone we deeply love, sadness such as this is not a trap. It is a natural part of life and the counterbalance to joy. However, when we talk about depression, a severe depression, it's a darkness that goes on and grossly impairs, we could say, basic functioning. It's a condition far beyond temporary or normal sadness or grief. And this severe depression, of course, drains our soul and robs us of our ability to create and act upon the world. The word I want to highlight is that the word depression is used for so many different things, many of which have very little to do with what we may be experiencing. For example, when people are sad for a few hours, they often say that they're depressed. Or people might throw the words, I'm depressed, if they're upset because they didn't get what they want. Normal sadness, as I said before, is not, it's just a temporary low mood state. It's not a depression. Disturbed sleeping, constant exhaustion, endless anxiety, miserable mood, ceaseless irritation, hot anger, inability to concentrate, all these can be symptoms of severe depression, because depression is actually an emotional, behavioral, and physical syndrome made up of a constellation of different symptoms, including negative changes to mood, to appetite, to sleep, as Dr. Joubert said. And these symptoms work together to significantly impair our daily function. And it's important to note here that there is not just one symptom that could define depression. And different men experience different symptoms at different times. So you asked me about young people. Around 1 in 6 people have depression at some point in their lives, and 1 in 4 of them will first have depression when they are under the age of 20. These signs of depression in young people involve changes in the way they think, they feel, or behave, physical changes. And this can cause withdrawal from work, disturbing relationships, problems in studies. Many of young people today have thoughts of suicide or self-harm. And this has to do with the new way of living and the cyber world that we're living in. Young people are glued to the smartphones and this cyber world that they are unable, I think, to face all the challenges that this cyber world entails. For instance, here in Greece, I have been working with children and young people who are suffering from mental health issues because of cyberbullying. In Greece, we have we're second rate in cases of cyberbullying in comparison to other European countries. And to honestly tell you, it's not something that we can deal easily. First of all, because teachers, we don't have the necessary training for this. I mean, we're not as psychologists, we're not advisors. We have some pedagogical training, yes, but we're not trained in these difficult situations. And if we talk also about cybersecurity, I don't know who can really help because me too, I had some problems of cyber attack and police and experts couldn't help me. So this cyber world makes difficult the mental health of young people and
Mm,
this leading cause of, for depression. Young people are depressed. And
mm,
this is shown in lower marks at school, changes in mood, behavior, risk-taking behavior, substance abuse, drug abuse, cocaine abuse is very common here in Greece and in Europe in general, especially after the COVID pandemic. The COVID pandemic, there was a dramatic rise in the use of alcohol and drugs. Nowadays, of course, the young people need more help and need more experts in order to be safe and uh, be refrained from risk-taking behaviors. Anger,
absolutely.
of course.
You know, yeah, I was looking, I'm hearing the statistics coming from yourself and the statistics that Muhammad put across as well. And it's quite scary. I'm hearing that here in Zimbabwe, for example, we only have 19 qualified psychiatrists to deal with a population of 15 million people. So, it's like, how do we get the help to the people? But before we jump into that, what do I do if I think that I'm depressed? What would be the best approach for me? How do I tackle this? Mohammed, what are your thoughts around this question?
You know, in my opinion, firstly, you know prevention is important, firstly, because prevention is always better than cure. Do not for example, drinking is very common in the in my country, for example. So do not drink alcohol, use illegal drugs. People use illegal drugs, and these substances can make depression worse and might lead to thoughts of suicide. And get more exercise and sleep, use therapies, play therapy, music therapy, yoga therapy, exercises, and maintain good sleep habits, and seek out activities that bring you pleasure. And always don't be isolated from the environment, isolated from the society. Always try to interact with others. Always spend quality time with your family members, with your friends, and volunteer or get involved in group activities, because when you are involved and socially you are involved with others, your brain will feel relaxed. Talk to someone you trust about how you are feeling. So someone is there in the society, we can talk to them, we can share our ideas with them in the problems. So many precautions we can do. And yoga and sports, cultural activities, many things you can do. Even music is a good therapy. So, and talk therapy is a counseling to talk about your feelings and thoughts, and help you learn how to deal with them. So types of talk therapy include
Mm,
cognitive behavioral therapy, that teaches you how to fight off negative thoughts. You will learn how to become more aware of your symptoms and how to spot things and that make your depression worse. So you will also be taught problem solving skills. And psychotherapy can help you understand the issues that may be behind your thoughts and feelings. And join a support group of people who are sharing problems like yours. Can also help. Ask your therapist or psychiatrist or doctor for a recommendation. So other treatment is also there. Medical treatment is there if the problem is severe. For example, the problem is severe, so you know uh, and the doctor will refer to the neurologist or psychiatrist. Electro convulsive therapy, ECT, is the single most effective treatment for severe depression. So it is generally
mm,
safe. ECT, electroconvulsive therapy, may improve mood in those with severe depression or suicidal thoughts, and who do not get better with other treatments. It is the it is the later stage treatment. It may also help treat depression in those who have psychotic symptoms. And like lots of antidepressants doctor use if the problem is very severe. Antidepressant medications and selective serotonin or reuptake inhibitors, lots of things doctors use. But most important thing is that the prevention, try to change your lifestyle. You have to create a joyful environment in the family, in the office, in the workplace. At the workplace, environment must be good and interactive, and try to busy yourself and don't think negative. Try always to be positive in your life, and don't compare with others.
Absolutely. I like how you brought in the mindset at the end, because when Dr. Rania joined us, that was one of the first things she spoke about. I just want to welcome Lawal and thank Lawal for his comment. He says here, amazing theme and amazing panelists. So thank you so much for joining in. We've also got Papula Olaoye joining us, and he says here, I'm practically making a video on mental health, and I want to include contacts that people can reach out to when they find themselves in this situation. Can you help with that? And in answer to that, I'm going to tell him to direct his comment and question to our GYMHA administration. You can reach Professor Jude at info@gymha.org. So, Rania, I'm coming back to you now. Can depression be healed? I know Muhammad just touched on it briefly there when he was talking about the different types of therapies, but is this something that we can get rid of completely once we say that we've been diagnosed with depression?
If I talk from my own personal experience, I have gone through many phases of depression throughout my life. I think that it's not easy to say that you can get rid of it, especially if you are vulnerable. But what helps is what Dr. Zubet said, that what I'm trying to do is to talk with someone I know and I trust, and that could be a parent, that could be a teacher, a school counselor, a family member, and you know that how you will deal with this depends on how severe the symptoms are. If you have people that can support you, how you would like to be treated. The health service is also available where you live, and if you have someone that you can consult as an expert. Self-help tips, of course, are important, like exercising regularly or eating healthy food, or setting small goals also is important. Engaging in creative pursuits like painting or writing. But I think the most important is I talked before about how we use a distorted lens. So we need to assess our thinking patterns, recognize negative thinking patterns, such as the negative focus and problem magnification. For instance, if we're depressed about our job or relationship, then we need to modify something. We need to see both sides of the coin, because most painful experiences have a flip side. Some beneficial lesson learned, insight gained, some friendship, a friendship, for instance, can be deepened or an ability improved. That means that a bad experience always includes an opposite compensatory good experiences. So this is the basis for what we say: what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, or every cloud has a silver lining.
As a silver
And another
lining.
important, yes, and we need exercises about problem magnification, because usually our depression lens magnifies problems, because they become the huge to surmount. They dominate our mental landscape. So we need exercises about this, and to have a big, to have a big picture awareness. That means that you need to focus our cognitive habits, to step back actually and look at the big picture. So after you have thought about something negative about the situation, you can find at least two things that are positive about it. I think this is very, very important. Balance always our perspective by identifying positive aspects of what we're thinking about. I think this what helps
Absolutely.
me.
Yeah. And those are great tips. And I love the way you also reinforced some of the tips Muhammad had come in with earlier. You guys are like thinking on the same level here, and I'm sure it's very helpful for our audience. We want to say here, welcome to Vivian from Lagos, Nigeria. So I want to just come back to something because both of you spoke about drug use and alcohol use. And I noticed you both kind of made a distinction between alcohol abuse or alcohol use and drug use. Why is it that when we talk about alcohol and drugs, we don't really classify them in the same category? Because isn't alcohol a drug at the end of the day? Who am I going to throw that to? Let me throw it to Muhammad first. What do you think? Because I notice when we speak about alcohol and drug abuse, we kind of like separate the two, you know. But we'll throw in drugs, we'll think about crystal meth and cocaine and marijuana, but we always seem to classify alcohol in a different category. But is this not a form of drug abuse as well? Just yeah, I'm just throwing it out there because I always notice this distinction. Mohammed or Rania, who wants to come in on that
Yeah,
one?
yeah.
Rania? Mohammed?
Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
You know, as I mentioned earlier, uh, as I mentioned that when we are in depression, interventions for depression aims to alleviate symptoms and improve emotional well-being. But nowadays people are very used to of taking drug and alcohol, and they at the early stages they feel these are very good and we are feeling well, but in the long run, it harms our body mentally and physically. For example, lots of liver issues, or lots of stomach issues, lots of mental health issues. So depending on the severity of the depression, you know um, you know people are not aware about in which quantity they should take drink, for example, which quantity and which kind of body they have, which kind of age in which he or she is right now. So interventions can range from self-help strategies to professional treatments. So in my opinion, um, you know for example, drugs and alcohol both are harmful for the for all the users, in my opinion. And we have to stop all those things at the early stages. For example, how we can left all these things. Firstly, mindfulness and meditation. Mindfulness, if your soul is pure and you are feeling that your body is not responding well and you are not feeling well, your level of depression has been increased. So my body is demanding alcohol, my body is demanding some sort of drugs. So meditation and mindfulness will be helpful, because mindfulness based interventions teach individuals to be present in the moment and cultivate self awareness about the body, which can help reduce and improve emotional regulation. Secondly, sleep hygiene. Alternative, you can use alternative diet and nutrition. A balanced diet rich in nutrients include omega-3 fatty acids can contribute to better mental health. For such persons, consult a healthcare professional for dietary recommendations. And regular physical activities such as aerobic or yoga or anything else, because body is demanding and you have to find out such any option. Silly. And for example, social support is important.
Absolutely.
Social support, for example, connecting with friends, family, support groups, or your partner, uh, and reduce feeling of isolation. And coping strategies, for example,
Mm,
behavioral activation. For example, engaging in activities that bring pleasure or a sense of achievement can counteract the reduced interest and pleasure associated with depression. And professional support groups must be there. And we have to, and lots of counselors can help you. Lots of professionals counselors, they will guide you, and they will make supportive relationship, how we can eradicate all those habits, building and maintaining healthy relationship with loved ones, and can provide emotional support, and natural exposure. We
Absolutely.
have to spend time in spend time in nature, and engaging in outdoor activities can have positive effects on mood and mental well-being. In my opinion, these are the things we can do. Otherwise, the people are very habitual, and it is very difficult to eradicate all those habits.
You're absolutely right. Thank you so much for that. I'm going to come to you now, Dr. Rania, because
Yes.
I've got a comment, or rather a question, that came in from a Zimbabwean audience. And the person wasn't able to chime in, but I think they're going to catch it live later. They're going to catch the recording later. So she says here, I need some advice without judgment. I have an 18-year-old who has just written his exams for the second time, but didn't do so well. He has depression issues, and I'm stuck. I have no idea what to do with him. He has no ambition and no clue what he wants to do. I'm frustrated. Please, can I have some advice? Now, this is a common, you hear this from parents a lot, that their children have no ambition, they have no drive, they seem to be stuck, not knowing what to do with their lives, and causes some sort of depression. What advice could you give to a parent with this situation?
Look, here in Greece, we have what we call Panhellenic exams. It's university exams in order to enter a university. And these are the most, let's say, the most serious and most difficult exams for children and young people. And parents really suffering from this. What I'm going to say that we have many cases of children who have suicide because they failed in these exams. And we have really many cases of parents who were seeking for treatment from mental health experts and from the government also here in the ministry. I have friends who have failed these exams, and really I can feel how difficult it is to handle it. Um, the only thing I think is to motivate these people, motivate them by telling them that, of course, this is not the end of an effort, but that failing is a part of life. The same we see with mistakes. When we do mistakes, it's a part of a game. The same, it's a failure. You fail once, but you can succeed twice, three times. You can tell them also that maybe it's for the good, because there are many children, for instance, who didn't succeed in the university, but they had careers in other domains in their life. So life is unpredictable, and you don't know how will reward your efforts. To continually stimulate these children that they have to try no matter what the result will be, and we have to reward them, to tell them bravo for your efforts, no matter what is the result. These children need a reward, they need to boost their self-confidence, and their ability to assess a situation, to evaluate a situation. Is what I said before. It's about having distorted lens here. Um, so, as far as from my experience here in Greece, what is happening with these children, yes, I understand it's very serious. I said this could lead to suicide. But if you adopt a positive approach, that means apply all the principles of positive psychology, and help children realize that this is not the end of the world, but that they have numerous and unlimited possibilities and perspectives in their lives. That they could have a brilliant future in many aspects of their lives. This, I think, could be very helpful and useful. It's about
Okay, that sounds
helping them
fantastic.
certain positive aspect of their lives. It's not about health expert now or treatment, medical treatment. It's about changing mindset, changing, underestimate, if we can say, the meaning of this of exams. Not gives too much emphasis on exams. This is this is a message that we
Absolutely.
have to pass
Um,
down to our students.
Great. No, that's great advice, and I'm hoping that she will chime into the recording and hear that advice that you've given her. We're joined here by Imran Kasim. He says, Salam. Why is it okay to have a nightcap? Even the president can have a nightcap or a nice red or white wine with his food. We do it for the euphoric benefit, same as I do with weed. No one drinks for the health benefit, they do it for the high after a long day. So these are the comments
Yes.
by Imran Kasim.
Yes, I want to
Muhammad,
say
what do you have
something.
to say about that? Oh, Rania, yes, jump right
Yes,
in.
yes, because we talked about before about if alcohol is a drug and it is classified as central nervous system depressant, which means that drinking alcohol slows down brain functioning, neural activity, and reduces the function of vital functions in the body. But although alcohol is clinically classified as a depressant, it is also proven to have stimulant effects. It's what they say, what our audience say. But this depends, of course, on the amount and rate at which the alcohol is consumed. In smaller quantities, alcohol is resulting in stimulatory effects. For instance, if you drink wine, there are many doctors who say that it's good for the heart functioning. So this stimulatory effect can lead, of course, to overconfidence, can have positive results. I mean, this can lead to increased heart rate, as I said before, to euphoria, improvements in mood or overconfidence. The problem is starts when a person consumes larger quantities of alcohol. More than the body is equipped to process. So in this case, the drinker is more likely to experience the depressant effects of alcohol. And in this case, alcohol becomes a depressant. This is the difference.
Yeah,
The overconsuming.
Yeah,
absolutely. Thank you so much for that. I think Imran might have benefited from that explanation and why we do the classification a little bit differently. I was hoping to have a question for Nur Ahmed, but his internet doesn't seem to be quite stable. And we touched on the signs and symptoms of depression. We touched on how to identify when you're depressed. We talked about how to heal depression. And we also spoke about, I think Muhammad mentioned genetics being a contributor to depression. So I'm going to come in now. We spoke about genetics. I want to know hormones. Do these play any role in how contributing to depression? Is there something that we should know about balancing our hormones in order to fight depression? You know, does this influence our emotions in any way, shape, or form? Who wants to take that one?
yeah, sure. Actually, should I reply? Yeah,
Yes, carry on, Muhammad. Thank you.
yeah. Hormones, and genetics both play significant roles in the development and manifestation of depression. Hormones, for example, neurotransmitter imbalance. Neurotransmitters are chemicals that transmit signals between nerve cells in the brain, and hormones can influence the balance of neurotransmitters such as serotonin, dopamine, and other hormones which play a crucial role in regulating mood. An imbalance of these neurotransmitters is often associated with depression. And the research is, when we read, many research, I have read many researches, so I found that, you know imbalance of these neurotransmitters is often associated with depression. And stress response, you know the body's stress response system involves the release of hormones such as cortisol from the adrenal glands. And chronic stress can lead to, dysregulation of the stress response, and impacting mood and increasing the risk of depression. And thyroid function, for example, the thyroid gland produce hormones that regulate metabolism. Abnormal thyroid function such as hypothyroidism has been linked to depressive symptom in researches. We have found. So reproductive hormones, hormonal changes during puberty, menstruation, pregnancy, and menopause can influence mood and increase vulnerability to depression. Postpartum depression, for example, is thought to be related to hormonal shifts after childbirth. And genetics is also, I mentioned earlier that genetics also play vital role. For example, hereditary factors. There is an evidence that genetics can, predispose individuals to depression. Having a family history of depression increase the risk of developing the condition. Genetic variations, such certain genetic variations or mutations may be associated with an increased suspectibility of depression. So researchers have, identified specific genes that may contribute to the risk of developing depression. Gene environmental interaction. So so it is important to note that depression is a complex and multifactorial condition. There are lots of, factors which are responsible for depression, and both hormones and genetics interact with a range of other factors, interdependency to one another, including environmental, psychological, social, emotional. While hormones and genetics contribute to the risk of depression, that are not the sole determinants. The interplay of these factors, underscores the importance of a comprehensive and personalized approach to understanding and treating depression. So which may include psychotherapy, medication, lifestyle modifications, and support from mental health professionals and psychiatrists.
Wonderful. Muhammad, thank you so much. Imran, thank you so much. He's really active in our chats here. Imran is asking, Rania, I'm throwing this one to you. He says here, so is small doses of weed okay? Weed has more health benefits than alcohol. And for the audience, weed is specifically marijuana. So, Rania, please can you answer Imran on this one? Are small doses of weed okay? Just like we say we can have one glass of wine. What are your thoughts around this?
No, I'm absolute about this, that any kind of drug like this kind is addictive. So anything with causes addiction is dangerous to our health because it's not controllable. So if you talk about me, I condemn any other kind of drugs if we consider alcohol as a drug.
Okay. Well, there you go, Imran. Rania considers drugs,
You know, you know,
alcohol as a drug,
one
and
more
she's
thing I
not
would like
okay
to
with
add.
small amounts.
Yeah,
Sure,
yeah.
Mohammed.
One more thing. Uh, Actually, it all depends on various factors, including individual health and legal context and his personal emotional aspect and mental health. Because when you take drug or alcohol, lots of health risk. While some people use small doses of, you know, a drug or alcohol or weed, it's important to be aware of potential health risks associated with, the use. So these risks can include, impaired cognitive function, memory issues, and increased risk of mental health, and lots of cardiovascular problem or respiratory problem. And legal consideration is also important. The legal status has their own, mechanism of, for example, their own, system. So in my opinion, I totally agree with Rania, because the decision to use small doses of weed should be made thoughtfully. I Otherwise it would be affect our health negatively.
Absolutely. And on that note, we've come to the end of this Facebook Live brought to you by GYMHA. And our theme, our topic tonight is signs and symptoms of depression in adults and young people. I was joined tonight by Dr. Rania Lampou, who is a global educator, STEM instructor, Greek astronomy and space company. She represents the Greek Ministry of Education and Religious Affairs, as well as being a GYMHA board member and training director. Mohammed Zubair joined me from India. He's an assistant professor of special education, focusing on learning disabilities in the Faculty of Education at Jamia Millia Islamia, a central university in New Delhi, India. Thank you so much to all of you who have joined in on this Facebook Live, which is the fifth Jimha Mind Matters talk show. And we look forward to hearing from you all. Please join us for the next one. And I want to thank Muhammad and Rania for being part of this conversation. Have an incredible night wherever you are, or enjoy the rest of your day if that's the situation in your country. Have a great
Always,
night. Thank you.
always. Thank you, thank you. Always love to share platform with Rania. Rania is very intelligent person. Yeah, thank you.